Hello, this is Amy with Paper Moon Journals, and I'm so excited to do a craft with me. We're going to, from start to finish, make a really pretty fairy journal like the one on the left. I'll show you that really quickly here, and then we'll just jump to it, making our own. So the things on the right are the things that I've set aside. To make the cover, you just need one sheet of 12 by 12, and then the images we print, we're going to print onto cards so that as we glue and layer things up, it gets thicker and more sturdy. So here's the one I already made. I used quite a few kits. We're going to primarily use Pixie Dust Files, her lined and neutral page bundle, some of her vintage rose kit, some of her mushroom pixies and garden pixie kits. I also used stuff from Miles Beyond the Moon and some butterflies for fussy cutting. And let's see, some crocheted placemat for someone's table and some sparkly scrapbooking paper. I end up adding to this to collage the cover some sheet music, I recall. And then I'm covetous of this crocheted placemat. I'm starting to run out of it. So I decide I'm just going to use a small piece on the spine of this book so we get the beautiful look, but we don't cover it all up when we layer up the cover. It feels a little bit like a shame to layer it up and cover it like that. It does add dimension and makes the cover really nice. So if you have a big enough piece to just wrap it around the cover, that's great. You go for it. But what we do with our 12 by 12 is we fold up 3 inches, and you can see I just measured with my ruler and then started folding. And then we cut out the middle and a little bit along the edge. And if you unfold it to cut that out, that's easier. And I have one prepared there to show you that I've already, got cut out. And I'm using my art glitter glue and a little glue dispenser there. And if you have a paper towel to wipe that away or a wet wipe or something, that would be better than your hands. My hands get really sticky because I just use them to wipe away any excess glue. And that's it. That's the base of our cover. And you might not think that that's sturdy enough, but as I said, when we glue on layers of card onto the front of there, it will be very stiff and sturdy. So here's a bunch of the things that I've already prepared for this video. I fussy cut out a bunch of the little pixies from Pixie Dust Files, and then some of her pink journal kit. I know I used a lot of her pink journal kit, probably some of her vintage rose garden. I had some fairy finding stuff left over from Miles Beyond the Moon when I made those. There's some scraps that I just rounded the corners and made into ephemera. More of those tags from the pink journal kit. That pink journal kit just looks so great with everything. I use it in all kinds of stuff. And then it looks like some stuff from my kits. There's the butterfly wings I printed onto vellum. You don't have to do this if your printer doesn't like printing on vellum. You don't really notice. I mean, in person, you can tell the difference if I show you, but a lot of times, I'm not sure if, don't feel too bad if you can't print it on the vellum. I thought it was fun and exciting. But, you do what you can do. And let's see, it looks like I added botanical from Pixie Dust Files, some Amity Bloom envelopes. Let's see, some from the Woodland kit at Pixie Dust Files, a bunch of scraps that I know will look great with other stuff. I can either collage those together or use them on page edges or to punch tabs out of with my tab punch. Here's some more fussy cut stuff printed out in case I don't have enough pixies, which I don't think I did. I ended up at some point in the video, you'll hear me say that I'm going to go print more stuff, and I'll tell you what I'm printing. There's some stuff from the little fairy kit that's cute. Looks like some more Amity Bloom, and then some stuff from my kit. I just gathered up anything that I had already printed out that I thought might work. And let's see, some tattered blue, some tea cards. I think those were tea cards, more of that pink journal kit ephemera. Butterflies not printed on vellum. And then some miniature vintage mail. That's fun. Let's see, some Amity Bloom mail ephemera. See, that would be, I forgot. Anyways, Ruby and Pearl XO, those vintage documents would be Ruby and Pearl. You can use what you have, but that's what I used in case you want to follow along. Or maybe you have what I used and I'm going to help you find it in your collection. I save my digitals oftentimes by the name of the shop. If it's somebody like Ruby and Pearl or Pixie Dust Files, where I know their stuff is so distinct, I know exactly what it is and where to go get it. Other people, if the shop is new to me or I'm not getting a lot of digitals from that shop, I'll just add them by theme, like fairy or Christmas or mermaid or something like that. And I might double save them to mermaid and save them to, say, my porch prints or something like that. So we're going through the pages that I've already printed out for this project and set aside. That mushroom kit, I have no idea who or what that was. But if you're interested in that, I can go look at my purchase history and see whose kit that was. But I like to, just mix and match. And as you can see from the pile, I use what I have left over from other projects, which really, makes each project interesting and unique. Instead of doily, because I didn't have any doily to use inside on this one, I used that kind of sheer fabric. I think that gives a nice feel and will be fun when we flip through. So I have everything clipped inside our cover there, and I've gotten my thread out. And we're all ready to sew it in. I just have to get my waxed linen thread. We're going to use the 3-hole binding stitch, and I made sure it would fit. I have an envelope in the center of the signature that will glue shut, and it will hide the center of the signature later. Be careful, do not punch your finger when you're doing this. You can measure it out or use a template if that makes you feel more comfortable. One of my favorite things about this style with the single signature is that we just sew everything right into the cover at once, and that makes it much easier. And then when we're done sewing it in, we'll glue lace or something over the spine to make that stronger and to reinforce that. And then it adds texture and decoration and makes it prettier. Okay, so we went out through the center hole and in through the top, and this always happens when I'm filming. I have problems I never otherwise have. I end up re-punching the holes. The problem is I should have used like a bull clip or something way stronger than a single paper clip to clip all of this to the cover. So the paper clip came loose, the pages separated. I tried to use my awl to reline the pages up again, and you can see I just gave up and I just punched new holes. You won't be able to see all of that later once I glue over it, but I have never had such a problem trying to glue in signatures as I did when I was filming this. So, even after years of doing this, there's still something new. But after punching the new holes, I just leave the awl in the bottom hole to make sure that they don't shift and come apart. I don't even have a clip at all on there at this point. I did not learn from my mistake I didn't learn it all, did I? Right? But it works fine. Just leaving the awl in there until I have it thus far is fine. So we went out through the center hole, in through the top hole, and then from the top hole all the way down to the bottom hole. And that's what created that long strip that I was pulling on. And when I was stitching it together, I sewed through the thread. So I used my needle to just work that apart where I'd sewed one thread right through the center of another one and get that to the length I want and tie it shut. I've shown this how to sew a signature in quite a few videos, so if I didn't do a great job here, please mention it in the comments, and I'll link to one of my videos where I spend most of the video showing how to sew this together. But you go out through the center, in through the top, and then you go when you're inside the middle of the signature, you carry the thread all the way down to the bottom hole and go out through the bottom and then back in through the center signature hole. And it's when you go back in through that center signature hole that you can catch the thread with your needle and sew right through the middle of another thread. But I glued the envelope shut. Now you can't see the center of the signature at all. What extra holes? And then, right? I'm not perfect. You just can't see when it's all done. Anything that didn't go to plan is always just looks fine when it's all done. So here we are. I was illustrating with my hands that if you wanted to hole punch those pages, it's much easier when they're paired together because each pair is the same size. I know my hole punch doesn't like to punch through single sheets, even if it's 28 or 32 pound paper or something. So I'm starting to layer up the cover here for durability and realizing I should have washed the glue off my mat before we started. I didn't realize it was so dirty, but it's all off there now. So I'm using my art glitter glue and a little glue dispenser here to apply glue to this scrapbooking cardstock. It's a pretty durable, heavyweight that has a nice shiny silver on it that I'm sure I want on the cover at this point, and then later I realize I don't. I pause the camera and go get some sheet music. It's from an upcoming digital set of sheet music. It's 14 pages. That's one PDF, and I love that because you can just send the whole thing to print two-sided and you'll have tons of sheet music, ready to use in your project. You can use it single-sided. I'll be using it in all kinds of stuff, but I find myself always needing sheet music, and my vintage sheet music that I have is really stinky and covered with mold, and the paper's fragile and the layers will just peel apart. I will glue something down, like say Velcro, and then when you go to open the Velcro, instead of the Velcro pulling apart, just the top layer of the sheet music would pull off. So anyways, my sheet music is in bad shape. And I made this scanned digital kit that I use for myself because it has a variety of different age to it. One has a real coffee ring from somebody's stain on it. And then it's got reds. It's got some pages with red and botanical, some pages with some green, some nice page borders, and then just lots of sheet music about happy topics like and love and they were all happy topics. So here I am playing around with the orientation on the cover, and I just can't find a composition that I like here until I pause and go get the sheet music. Okay, I paused the camera, I went away, and I came back with a piece that was just a 1/4 inch smaller than the piece I trimmed on the cover, which itself was a 1/4 inch smaller all around than the base of the cover. So since the cover is 9 by 6, I just reduced each piece by a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch on each side to make a 1/4 inch border. And now when I layer it up, I'm much happier. I don't have that shiny background competing with our focal point, which is that adorable little girl. And to make the cover more durable, I didn't print her wings on vellum. She's just, her wings are printed onto cardstock. And we'll add more decoration to the cover. This is exactly the way I make them. I sat and filmed each stage of it exactly how I make it. So I like the cover to inspire me as it goes along. And then I like to also have it pretty decorated so that if anything's going to get knocked or bumped or messed up, it'll happen while I'm working on it and I can fix it. And then that way I also feel like the journals are usable when people get it. I don't worry as much that it's going to get damaged in shipping or that if they use the journal, it's going to just fall apart because I have the journal already made while I'm decorating it. And again, if anything's going to fall apart or get messed up, it should happen now while we're working on it. So if I didn't glue her down good enough, I could repair her before the journal's finished and goes anywhere. So this is the final composition that I decided I liked. And I liked that picture was from the Miles Beyond the Moon from their Fairy Finder kit. They had some really nice background images that were either outdoors or like a tea party or that room. The images that I printed on vellum were from their kit. And that's a really nice effect. I don't always remember to do that, and I'd kind of forgotten about it until I was preparing things for this project. But I've glued everything down and then tried to lift up corners and see if where anything's lifting up and add some more glue to get everything glued down really sturdy. Now that we have the outside of the cover, we're ready to decorate the inside of the cover. And I guesstimated when I was over at my cutter the sizes that I would need, and I was so close. I think I just trim 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch off. It was crooked, so then I straightened my cut to make this fit above the pocket, and the piece I cut to go over the pocket fits nicely. I used scraps from the cover for cutting the pieces for the cover to make the pockets. And that piece above the pocket was also a piece that we used for layering on the cover. Both of those papers are cardstock scrapbooking paper. that was single-sided from just whatever pad I have of pale blue papers. You use what you have, or if you have digitals that you think would look nice here. I know the blue dyed lace by Twisted Paper Studio would have looked nice here. I didn't have that kit when I prepared all the paper, but if I was to do this again and I was looking for blue, I might use that. Some of those tattered blue papers that were even in the stack that we kind of rifled through at the beginning, stack of pages that we might use. And there I am, not sure what I think I was just moving that out of the way. My bookbinding kit must have been sitting in the way. I crowd my work area with things I don't need anymore. And look, I remember to bring my bone folder. Somebody, put a little prize icon in the comments if you made it this far, because if you watch my other videos, you'll see that, like, I would say 9 times out of 10, but it feels like more than 9.5 times out of 10, my bone folder does not get to the filming area when I'm planning. I'm thinking again about how I should have cleaned off my mat before I started and how there's a couple things stuck to the cover there. But again, if something like that's going to go wrong, I want it to go wrong before they get it. And it did. It just wiped right off. It didn't. Nothing stayed stuck to the cover. Part of that cover, the glossy part, I printed on photo paper that I had picked up at the thrift store. So if you like to go thrift store shopping, kind of look for that. Those weird boxes of you maybe didn't care what it was. It might be photo paper, and you can pick it up for a couple dollars. And a box of photo paper would easily be, $20. So see what you can do. I'm not sure if you can hear my dog shaking in the background. He knows when I do these voiceovers, and he likes to make his little statement. He feels the need to participate in every video or every voiceover. He knows when I'm doing the voiceovers. So here's some of the paper dolls that I'm going to set aside and I'm going to glue onto cardstock. There's more scrapbooking paper that I have that I had set aside, and I'm going to glue them there to make them sturdier so I can put them in pockets or envelopes to use as like loose paper dolls to hand out. I want them to be sturdy, and they were just printed on paper. They weren't printed on cardstock at all. So this will make them sturdy and make the back sides pretty too. And some of them might end up getting glued down inside the book, but this is the plan. And this, like I said, this is exactly how I sit and do my project. I just sat and made this journal and filmed different parts of the process for you so we could sit and make it together. I really wanted to have one good long craft with me, start to finish. Let's make a journal in my style. And we finish it with lace. We make tags and decorate everything in this video today. So if you just stick around, you can craft with me. You can pause at the different points when I pause and step away to get different things done. I'm going to do that in a minute here. So I don't make you sit and watch me fussy cut all those butterfly wings or gluing them to the paper dolls. I sort them into little stacks so I can use half in the front and half in the back. That was pretty pointless because then when I set them aside to make all the little, make them into fairies and attach butterfly wings, they get all mixed together again. But that's how I do it before I'm going to decorate the pages. We'll make ephemera before we decorate the pages, so we make sure that we pick our favorite ones. So I fussy cut one of the butterflies out and show you how I glue it onto the back of the fairy. We cut away the body because we know we're using it separately. Nobody's going to see the butterfly body. So don't worry about cutting around any butterfly bodies. And then I like to put each wing, I like to separate them so I could put each one on a little fairy shoulder blade. But I paused the camera, I went away, I cut all of them out and attached the little fairy wings. So if you want to pause the camera and go fussy cut out your elements, your little fairies and their little wings, get a little stack of them glued together. I had at least a dozen there, let's say 16 or 18 little fairies that I made. And then here's the ephemera that I picked out of that stack of what we might use, and here's what we're probably going to use. We're going to try to use all of this stuff, and we didn't have much left when we were done. There was just a couple pieces that got tumbled into my next project. Mostly these little things there, that stuff that wasn't backed onto card is what those things were, small ephemera to use in envelopes. But here's those tags from the pink kit. Some of them I backed onto tea stain paper. Some of them I printed onto card or printed two-sided. We'll be using some vintage documents in the pockets. The tall Amity Bloom stuff, we'll be using that. The botanical images that I printed onto card and rounded the corners. And then I felt like I didn't have enough stuff, so I went and printed out this stuff from the Divine Neutrals kit. I thought that would be nice to make some tuck spots and those tall tags. I thought those would look nice. And then from the Pixie Dust Files Essentials kit, I went and printed out page 2 and page 3 because I didn't feel like I had too much. It must be page 2, 3, and maybe 4. I like the postcards to use as tuck spots and pockets. And then here's a vintage document. It was probably from Ruby and Pearl. And I show how I like to cut those apart, and we'll use those to make tags. So I cut one piece 3 inches wide, 2 pieces 2.5 inches wide, because that fits my tag top punch. And then whatever's left, it ends up being a little over 2 inches is the piece left. Then I punch out everything that fits into my punch so that I have 3 tags and a tall card ready to make and decorate for the project. These make great bases. You could also print out sheet music as your base, and then where we use sheet music collaging, you would then use vintage document. You could layer up a variety of things, but I add them to our project or stack of things we're going to use. So I pause the camera here in a second and take off to finish cutting things out and inking up everything that I'm going to ink. So if you want to do that, pause the video here, take off, and then meet me back here in a second with everything inked up that we're going to use. Okay, we're back, and I've inked up everything that I planned on inking. Pretty much everything except for those thin little papers. That is mostly what I have left over. But I have my little paper dolls set aside. I have some sheet music from my sheet music collection and some French Bureau drawer from French Bureau from Sam Poole for the newsprint, the French newsprint. And I just cut the sheet music. I figured that was going to be our base, so I cut those into strips 2 inches wide and then cut into 1.5 inch strips that newsprint. And then I'm just tearing it to the length that I want and layering it up. These kinds of things, vintage document, sheet music, and book page, or in this case, newsprint, look great when layered together. You just can hardly go wrong if you have 3 different shades of beige, beige on beige on beige. Everything then just goes and looks nicely. For this MAC tag, I picked one of the big paper dolls and didn't layer that one up at all. It's just going to be that giant fairy on that big card that we made. And then I pick out paper dolls for the other ones, and I show how we're also going to be making some graphic 45 tags that we'll be using in here. But let's start with the ones that we made using the tag top punch. You don't have to have the tag top punch, but I just love the finished look, how it takes those little strips of cardstock that we printed out and makes them look finished and polished. I love it. It's one of my 2 favorite tools that I bought this year that I keep going on and on about in my videos. You're probably tired of hearing about it. I'm not trying to make you get it. You know, you get what you need. I did wait, 5 years before getting it myself. Largely because I didn't know it was out there or how much I would love it. But that and the tab punch that we also use to cut tabs out for the pages, that's also nice. So let's see, my glue doesn't want to work. Isn't that always the way? So I get a little paper clip, I unbend it to use it as a poker, and then I just bend it back in shape and use it as a paper clip again later. I won't find it to use when I need it to poke the glue free. Does that happen to you? Whatever you use as your little glue poker, it could be right there. I might have not moved and I might not be able to, I'll end up unbending another paper clip. At the end of my video, I'll have 2 or 3 little unbent paper clips from unstoppering my glue. I also have a nice collection of mushrooms and butterflies and things like that would have made these look great. I didn't think to use them at all on this part of the project, I don't think. We'll have to wait and see because I've done a few things since I filmed this, and it'll be a surprise for me too. I'm watching and learning, just like you are. I'll be just as surprised as you are with what we do next here. I know that we do get out lace and trim and things from that bag to my left. We use some Stickles glitter to make it all glittery and sparkly. I don't glue down the wings. I leave the wings kind of loose so they flap. And if you slide your finger underneath the wing, you can show people how transparent they are, which is why I said it's not a big deal if you can't print them on the vellum, because most people just don't even notice unless you show them. But it is neat, and it was fun for me. Again, it's something I often forget to do, but I remembered for this project. So we've glued down all our little pieces into layers, and I'm not sure if you noticed that when I layered them all up, I was able to add one staple to each one in a way that stuck everything down where I wanted it. And then I glued everything from the top down. It was a trick that I learned from Barbara over at 49 Dragonflies. She said she had learned it from someone else, but I learned it from her a number of years ago, 3 or more years ago, and I can't recall who she said she had learned it from. I'm pretty sure the channel she referenced was unfamiliar to me, and then I wasn't able to remember. So while I'm yammering on here in the voiceover, you can see in the video I've taken some of the embroidered flower trim and separated out little bunches of flowers and tried to add them to each one. I would like to have one on every project, but maybe it didn't look good on every project. I have that one card pushed off camera so that I could, get to the bottom. I've made my work area kind of messy there. But I added some rickrack to the bottom high enough where I can add a ribbon ruffle, and I kind of tack that down part way into the double-sided tape and a little with the glue, and then run a bead of glue in the double-sided tape. So we do this so that the double-sided tape will hold it for now while we're working the ribbon into the shape that we want. And then once the wet glue dries, then it will hold it forever. So I like using both double-sided tape and wet glue when I'm adding these ribbon ruffles, is what I like to call them. You can make them more even, you can make them taller, you can make them messier or thinner. I do them in a variety of ways, and I think it's really fun. But I'm continuing to decorate these pieces with the trim pieces from that little bag that I use when I clean up. It's the easiest way to bring trim over to use in the video here. And so I'm one at a time looking at my little pieces and the trim that's on my desk and showing you that I'll use some of those in these big pockets. I can't wait. I start putting some vintage document into that pocket. That little card I decide is done and put that in the pocket. And I'm talking about how these tags are, the long skinny ones are nice. If I make a pocket that's the size of a page, then these long skinny ones are just the thing to stick out of those deep pockets, those deep portrait shaped pockets. I have some blue lace that I used to tie the tab on that one. And then I have some stretchy lace there that instead of cutting in half, I realize is the perfect size to be a pocket. So I grab the book out and I make a lace pocket. Again, I just filmed this video working exactly how I work so that someone had asked they want to see how I do it. And this is how I do it. As inspiration strikes, I'll just grab the book and glue something in there or stuff it in the book. And then keep going with what I was trying to do. I might be a little attention deficit, but I didn't know that, and so I just think it makes my projects more interesting, since when inspiration strikes, I act. I don't wait on it. I saw that little black piece of lace was just the right size for the bottom of the tag, so I grabbed some other things that are black to add some more black to that tag. And this little bit of black lace is really nice in the finished project. When everything's so pink and frilly, it's nice to have a little bit of black lace in there. So I have this braided trim. I didn't have my lighter with me. I'm not sure it had a high enough polyester content to melt the ends anyways. If I remember correctly, that braided trim must be 100% cotton because it just catches fire. So some of the trims, if they have a high polyester content, you can melt the ends. See, there's a piece of trim that I ripped off of a project. You could see the paper still stuck to it. And that happens. If I don't like it, I just rip it back up and glue something else. Oh, look, I do remember to use the mushrooms. That's nice. I wasn't sure if I had remembered that those were sitting right there to decorate the tags with. It is kind of fun to use the mushrooms in front of our focal point, kind of off to the side and in front. It looks like they're coming out of the mushrooms, which made it more interesting than if I had remembered to use them in the first place. And that happens a lot of the times where one of my ideas will make it more interesting. So that half of a mushroom I decided to add. I was going to add it to the card in the front. I didn't like that, so I just added it to the front page and then continue on decorating the tags. Just as I said, inspiration strikes, I do the thing, and then I go back to what my plan was. I hope that this is really useful for you. I've really appreciated the comments that people have left for me, that they get useful tips and advice from my flip through videos, which is great. I do try to make them interesting and informative, inspiring, maybe entertaining too. I don't know. But yeah, so that was really good to hear that that was true. And I hope that this big, long, chatty craft with me, let's make a journal together, is going to do that for people too. You know, that if you make it all the way through the end. First of all, since this is really long, if you wanted, you could just have me chatting in the background while you worked. I don't know if you like to do that. I often listen to Rachel from Roxy Creations. Oftentimes she'll do 45-minute or hour-long videos that are like craft with me's. And I love that because I can sit there working on what I'm working on, like this project here, and then listen to her like she's sitting in there crafting with me. And when I look up to see what she's doing, you know, she's making something, I'm making something. But you could do that with this video because it's long enough. It's worth. I don't like picking up the remote because I lose it in my crafting mess when I'm crafting. So I want to put a good long video on there so that I don't have to, for an hour, I won't have to pick up the video or pick up the remote to go find another something to put on while I'm crafting. But here I am layering up the Graphic 45 standard size tags. Those came to me in a monthly crafting kit club, and instead of using them, I hoarded them. And I've been making an effort to use them in my projects lately. They do look much prettier once they're decorated in the projects than in their little packages, but I covet them. They are $1 each, and it's just, it's like, wow, that really adds to the project. I wouldn't want to use a charm normally that cost $1 each. They're 50 cents or less, the charms on average. And so to use 2 tags that were, each $1, it just feels so extravagant. I guess that's the thing. I'm used to doing it with remade things and my own things, and know if it's like cooking, but it seems like since I didn't make these tags that they're better quality. I don't know if they actually are any better quality than the tags that I make, but again, just like not having to cook for yourself. Does that happen to you? Like the food tastes so much better. It could be the same grilled cheese that I would make, but it just tastes so much better when somebody else made it and hands it to you already made on a plate. And I think that's the thing with these Graphic 45 tags or the card bases. Sure, I could cut my own card base, but it just feels so, the ones that come pre-made feel so nice and feels extravagant to use something nice and pre-made. So on these ones, I definitely remember to use the mushrooms, and I have more room with these, with the size of these bases. So I use one in its entirety and another one cut in half so I can make a little mushroom cluster there. And then add the other half mushroom to the other card. And again, this is just how I work. I just sit there and go for it. I pick up stuff. If there's not enough stuff, I'll go and get some more lace, which I think I do. No, that's right. I decide I'm not sure how or where I want to use these. I'm pretty sure I want to tuck them into pockets, so I don't want anything frilly at the bottom. So I just leave those as they are. I, pause the video and we come back where I have a bunch of the little paper doll fairies ready to go. So I grabbed a couple I realized I had glued onto card early on to make them stiff to put into pockets. So I found one of those. I stuffed him into one of the pockets and then grabbed a vintage document, one of those botanicals. That one was a little too wide for this pocket. So I go to the front pocket with that one, see if it'll fit in there. Not too wide for the front pocket. and then work on layering things in there so that I think it looks nice. And we'll go through decorating stuff with the little fairies. And then when we're done adding the little fairies to pages, we'll come back and add pockets. And then and then we'll fill the pockets, and then we'll decorate and add lace. But here we are. Let's stay where we are now. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves, right? So I just go by feel, or I wing it. On the inside of the front cover, I usually like a focal point there. And I'm showing you how I left her wings so that you could layer something under there still if you wanted. And I don't even wait to add pockets. Like I said I was going to, I grab some ephemera right there and create a little pocket on the front of that pocket. And then continue to go through the book. You'll notice as I flip back and forth through the book, I want them evenly placed throughout, and I don't want them too matchy-matchy. I don't want everyone on the left side, bottom left corner of the left page, let's say. I want some on the right, some on the left, some, on the corner, some in the middle of the page, some close to the spine on the page. A lot of them will be on the page edges, but I'll flip back and forth through the book. I thought she was really cute and found a page near mushrooms for her. But again, I'll pipe down and we can just watch me work here, and hopefully you're crafting along with me. I'll put some music on in the background. Maybe I won't pipe down. We'll see. It might be, we'll see. It'll be a surprise. So that big fairy I glued down on the top and the bottom. He's a belly band. Doesn't look like I'm piping down. Did you notice that? I noticed. So that really big fairy, I glued him as a belly band. And then I think that one behind the vellum looks cute. You see her. I like this little angry girl. And I grab a mushroom. I remember, oh, that's right. They look so cute when you place the little fairies near the mushrooms. I know these mushrooms and butterflies that I have cut out to the side were from a Christmas project that I got. They were from a Merry Pinkmas kit that Pixie Dust Files has in her shop. And since I bought it with all my Christmas stuff, but I remembered when I was doing this project, I was like, ooh, part of the reason I wanted that kit, and one of the many things that I love about her kits, is they're so versatile. I knew when I saw those pink butterflies and mushrooms that I would use them in fairy projects and all kinds of things. And it's part of the reason I wanted the kit, because I could see that not only would I use the Pinkmas things in my Christmas projects, but these mushrooms and butterflies would get used on all kinds of things. So I'm continuing to not pipe down and to add mushrooms and butterflies and fairies to the different pages. Just winging it here as I add a butterfly. When I add the butterflies, I like to just glue the body down and leave the wings loose so that they kind of flap around a little bit. I realize I don't have enough of the fairies, so I went off and I printed more fairies and added little wings to them. I did that from the garden, the Mushroom Kids and the Mushroom Pixies journal kit, and I'm not sure what else I might have grabbed when I went to go print more of those. I'm sure I've said this before, but what happens is when I go to my Pixie Dust Files section to go print out these little dolls to add more to the journal, I'll see other stuff and get inspired while I'm there to print out some other things. That definitely happens. I think these two little kids are so cute, and they match each other, so I use them on the center of the signature, one on either side of the page. And since we glued an envelope into the middle of the signature, that other one's kind of hidden from us. But I think that looks really cute, and that lace pocket is back there, the one that we did. Another fun thing is we want to add the fairies to some of the blank pages, but also to add some of the fairies to the existing pages. So I could have added one of the fairies to that page on the right where the roses are and the lined, that lined oval. I could have used one of the fairies to frame in that oval. I really love how they look standing on the mushrooms, so I do that with a couple of them in here. It looks so cute. And I'm flipping back and forth through the pages, looking where there might be a long stretch of pages with nothing interesting on it. You can see a lot of these pages are getting decorated in the lower left-hand corner. Did you notice that? But overall, when we're done decorating it and it has pockets and the pockets are full, there will be enough variety. I think it'll still be interesting and fun for whoever gets it. I haven't decided what I'm doing with this journal yet. I might list it in the Etsy shop. I also thought about giving it as a gift to one of my regular customers who's bought a lot from me this year. I just keep giving her more and more grand free gifts with her orders. I think I have 3 regular customers, at least. I really appreciate everybody who buys in my Etsy shop. I've said it before and I'm sure I'll say it again, but it's thanks to all the people buying in my Etsy shop that I was able to get that Merry Pinkmas digital kit that I've used to make this really cute, or some of the new laces. I bought new charms. Every time I sell a journal, I'll pick up 2 or 3 small craft supplies or things that I've been wanting and will hold off on getting until I make a sale. Sometimes it's digitals from Debrina's shop, the Pixie Dust Files, or another digital shop. I'll see their advertisement on Instagram and want it, but hold off picking up anything new until I make another sale, to make sure that, it's been so great, people buying in my Etsy shop, that it's actually helped to pay the bills and to support our family, not just to buy new craft supplies. It's been a huge blessing. Thank you so much. And if you can't, or, don't want to buy from my Etsy shop, that's perfectly fine. I really appreciate everyone that does. If you like or comment or share my videos, that really helps me out too, because you might share it with someone who does or can get one of the journals. One of the reasons I do like selling on Etsy, even though their fees, mean I have to charge up for the things, is that they will break things down into payment plans of 3 or 4 payments. And so I hope that helps people to make them more affordable. I do pretty frequently, especially during the holiday season, I'll have discounts and sales, thank you coupon codes. Okay, back to the project here, and enough about my darn Etsy shop. I love layering these pockets over a pocket, and I'm not sure if you noticed that I used some of that ephemera from the Pixie Dust Files Essentials to make into those pockets. It makes the easiest pockets. It might not be the most interesting or exciting pockets, but I didn't want to do a bunch of fat things. This is a single signature with no spine. And if we do a trifold pocket or any one of those, make a mini journal to stick in here, this will get so fat that no one could actually use it. And it might not be realistic, but I like to think that people actually use my journals when they get them. I like to make them as if I'm making it for myself and like I want to use it. Or if I'm making it fancy and as a coffee table book with all the lace and things, then, maybe that's my goal. But we finished adding our focal points to the pages, and I've come back with my stacks of ephemera and I'm adding them in. This envelope here is from My Porch Prints. It's called Vintage Neutral Envelope or whatever. It comes with this size and a smaller size, mini neutral envelopes. So it has this size and the mini size. I cannot get that thing. I can see it lifting up, but couldn't get it to lift up to tuck that envelope in there. And here's that smaller size envelope. So this is a great way to use little offcut scraps, are great to tuck as ephemera into these pockets, along with small tags and other tiny pieces of ephemera. So I kind of dig through my stack of small things that got printed out with other things and just find some stuff to cram in there. Just pack it full of stuff and keep going. I like to have at least 1 or 2 envelopes in every project. And then, of course, we had an envelope in the center of the signature that we'll be filling. But this is how I do it. I add pockets, I fill the pockets. If I have too much stuff and not enough pockets, I'll print out stuff to make more pockets. And if I have a lot of pockets and not enough stuff, then I'll go print out more stuff. That almost never happens. I mean, too much stuff is kind of my go-to. Here you can see where I made that guy a belly band, and those little tags are from the Essentials kit. And then here's those layered pockets. So I realize if I use tall stuff in that pocket on the bottom, it will hide the pocket on the top. And I don't want to do that. So I look for some bottom pockets that need tall things in it, and I know the inside, front, and back cover do. So oh, and then that's right, the lace pocket that needed some tall things in there. So I flip through it again, seeing if there's anything else. I go back to this layered pocket again, and then we'll flip through my little stack of things that didn't fit. I could have trimmed it down to get it to fit, but I'll probably just find a different place for it. And then I realize, let's find some little things to put in the layered pocket. I go through here again to find some stuff for the tiny pocket on the top, and just dumped some stuff out of there to make my work area nice and messy. Gives me lots of options, makes it interesting and fun. But it's just shopping for all the ephemera that I have on my desk and filling this up. It's so much fun. And you can see, I think that the order that I make these things in makes it go pretty quickly. So I cut the bottom off and then added that to the pocket. I also have like a ticket corner punch. I could have cut the corners out of that and made it look like a ticket before adding it to the pocket. I could have added it as small ephemera to one of the envelopes. You can see here I've packed this envelope full of all kinds of goodies and ephemera and glued it shut so I can tuck it into the big pocket in the back. And then I kind of gather up the ephemera I have left and sort it into piles somewhat by size so I can see what I have when I flip back and forth through the pockets. I also discover, I think, another pocket piece in there that I can use. And those flags, I like stapling those flags to the top of the page. But I go back through the stacks of ephemera that I have and the pockets and start adding stuff to the pockets. I decide to add the envelope that we just packed full of stuff to this corner tuck spot instead of the big back pocket. And I'm flipping through. I know that there's pockets in here that need stuff in it. And so I'm flipping back and forth looking for places I knew needed some stuff and then looking at what I have and making it work. I continue flipping back and forth through the book looking for pockets or envelopes or things that might need more ephemera. And you might notice or be wondering at this point, what happened to all those really cool tags that we made that when I covered with glitter I set aside? Here they are! Here they are. So I'll come back and add toppers and things to that off camera. And I think I do end up adding some pom-pom and a couple more things. I try not to make too many changes once we're done filming and it's completed so that it doesn't really change that much. But I just couldn't resist. I thought I could make one without pom-pom and I couldn't. So I take our little supply of tags that we have and just flip back and forth through the journal looking at the pockets and the layout to see if I'm happy with everything, which I was. I was really happy with how that came out. Okay, so I paused the camera and went to go get my tab punch and could not resist gluing some lace on the cover. And I'm showing you on the back exactly how I glued the lace onto the cover when I was off camera. Sorry about that. I just get carried away. These projects are so fun that I just couldn't stop myself when I was over in the crafting area getting the rickrack and the lace and some of the other trims. And you could see the glue sat too long and it got gummed up, but I had a second container of glue there and that one was working just fine. And it's that Art Glitter brand glue, and I just used dots of it on top of the lace to glue the lace to itself. You use whatever adhesive works for you. Fabri-Tac would work. I grab a scrap from my tattered blue lace, I think it is, and use that with my tab punch to punch out 5 is what I was going for, and it was just enough to make 5 tabs. And then I got it stuck in my punch, but yep, that was my second favorite tool of this year. Then I'm showing you how I have copper colored staples in there and how I plan to staple all of these into my book. I like the copper colored staples, and stapling is so much easier and more fun and less messy than using glue. I like how it looks. If I wanted to add charms, the tabs make it easy to do that. And I like how it looks. So I'll go through and add all the tabs and then we'll start on the decorating. In the same way that I flipped back and forth through the book to add pockets, embellishments and focal points, it's the same way that I'll flip back and forth through here to add lace and trim. So I start inside the front pocket and then realize, wait, that tiny pocket on top of the pocket, I didn't have anything inside of there. So I grabbed some stuff out of the envelope that I'll use to fill that little pocket and then took it out of the pocket. Explaining here that we want to be mindful. This book is already really fat, and if anybody's going to use it, if we add too much lace and decoration, this book will just be way too far open to actually use. It would just be ridiculous to try to write in it that at any point in the book, the page next to it would just be so close to you from them being too big for too much stuff in there, too much of a gator mouth. So we want to be mindful of that. We could go back and take a bunch of stuff out of the envelopes and pockets. We really packed this full of ephemera. So if we were really tied to the idea of having this have a lot of lace in it, we could go back and do that. We could also cut this out and remove a few of the pages from the signature if it got too fat. So we definitely have options. I like this lace that I use here. It's really fine and thin, and it won't add any bulk at all, not any noticeable bulk at all to our project. So again, just the way I normally like to work, I cut a bunch off of the reel, and then I cut it down to what was approximately the right size, cut it into a guesstimated number of pieces, usually an odd number, 3, 5 pieces, 7 pieces of lace, and then flip through there. I like the way the lace looks from the front and the back side, and I think about that when I'm picking pages. I'll pick a page that doesn't have a tab on it, and I think the blue will really look nice and make the other blue on this page pop. So I decide to put the lace there. And then at the end, when the glue is dried and that lace is adhered nicely, I'll come back and I'll trim those long lace edges off. I don't do that on camera, but before I come back and take the final pictures, I did finish with that. So I have this blue lace, the cream rickrack, and that gold colored rickrack that we'll use to decorate it. And where there's a lace pocket or other pockets, I'll want to decorate the edges, the tops and bottoms of those pockets. I might decorate the top of one of the pages so that it'll peek out and you'll see it from the page behind. I really have a lot of fun adding the lace. This part is one of the most fun parts. And I get a lot of glue on my fingers too. But I just sit there and flip around until I see a page that looked like it needs something. Or in this case, I picked up the blue pom-pom and was like, I'm going to use some blue pom-pom. And then looked for a page that would look nice with blue pom-pom. So sometimes it starts with picking up the lace and finding a place to use it. Like this, I'm like, oh, I love this. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this to make tabs, some lace tabs. So then I start flipping through, thinking I'll use a tab on one of the tops of the pages. So again, that will peek out from all of the pages that are short enough. You'll be able to see that sticking out the top or on the top of the journal. I add some gold rickrack, and I'm really just waiting to be inspired and just grabbing a thing and doing it without really stopping to think about it. If I decided I didn't like it later, I could always rip it up and glue something else over the top. So I try not to hesitate and just go with where inspiration guides me. I don't know, do you do that? Do you really plan things out when you're decorating, or do you just go with the flow? How do you do it? I really like adding ribbon ruffles to some of the pages, sometimes on the top and sometimes on the bottom. And when I do that, I'll use the double-sided tape with the stream of glue. So the double-sided tape holds it for now, and then the glue holds it forever. I like that one page where I had the blue ruffle and then the lace from a page behind peeked out. I pick it up and take a look at it. It's bad enough. So I think that this is a good place to stop. And I do, like I said, I do add a couple more things off camera. I'd forgotten I had some really pretty teal crocheted lace that came in recently, so that got added. And I added some flat back pearls to the centers of the flowers. But if you wait until the end, as I often do, as I like to do, I have some close-up pictures. So if you wait till the end, you can look at the close-up pictures. And in those, you can usually see all the glitter too. So I'm using my Stickles glitter and Stardust around her collar, the edges of her sleeve, anywhere she had white bits of lace. I did do the edges of the flowers and the centers of the flowers, and then the edges of her wings. I love how the Stickles glue looks and how it adds glitter without making a glittery mess in my house. I use about a half jar of that Stickles glitter on every project, you know, judging by how many jars I go through a month and how many projects I make. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you stay to the end, I'll have the close-up videos. Please like, subscribe, and share my channel with anybody else that you think might enjoy the content. Have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for watching.